Well, back in the studio, Professor Yossi Yonah, member of the Israeli Parliament in the Labour Party, and Jeremy Sultan, candidate for the New Right Party, pollster and political strategist. Now, gentlemen, before the break, we were talking specifically about Labour. 6 seats. You said it was disappointing, but you weren't really surprised. Tell us more.
No, I was not surprised because I believed for quite a long time, though in the very initial stages I was a very staunch supporter of Avi Gabay. But as time went on, I realized that actually I was mistaken, and the guy is lacking basic qualifications needed for running a political party. The guy came from the business world, and he believed that the same if you wish, the same qualifications that would make you a successful manager would actually make you a good leader of a party. Well, it doesn't work like that. Another thing is that, and actually in connection with what I said, that he believed that the moment he would come to the Labour Party, he's going to just, to change everything, to throw people away, those that he doesn't like, and that he was going to recreate the party in his own image, transforming it into one main show. Well, it doesn't work like that. And actually, this kind of conduct alienated a lot of traditional, important activists in the party. This is the one thing. Another thing is then when he was not able to forge alignment with the other individuals, public figures in other parties, and the drift was already clear, that if you are not managing to come up with some effective coalition with other public figures and other parties, we're going to lose. So he was entrenched, and he was led by some kind of, I would even say, egotistic, some kind of tendencies, whereby he wouldn't be willing to go down and allow other public figures, such as Gantz, such as Ashkenazi, and other public figures, that they were, let us put it this way, willing to consider entering the Labour Party should there would be the leaders of the party, and he wouldn't budge. And that was a very big mistake, because when he was already ready to entertain such possibility, it was too late. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, the two main problems, and problem of personality, not understanding at all political affairs, and holding on to the job tenaciously against all indications that would come from, bottom up, saying, well, look, this is a big mistake. This is a big mistake. He wouldn't listen. And this is why, as I was telling you before, I recognized that it's going to be a fiasco. And I urged members of my party to make a move. And therefore, I also think that the responsibility for the huge fiasco lies with them as well, because when it was possible to make a move, they chose not to do so.
Do you feel a sense of sadness given the history of the Labour Party in this country?
Of course, because I've been throughout my life associated with the Labour Party. My father, who passed away about a year ago, throughout his life was voting Labour. My mother was voting Labour. My sisters and brothers voting Labour. I mean, we'll elaborate. And to see that how there is really a party that is responsible for creating the state, like every big achievement that of Israel, you'd feel the imprints of the Labour Party, and to see how it's dwindling in power, how it is losing favor in the eye of the public, it's very, very saddening, very, very saddening. And I think that irrespective of political differences and ideological differences, I would expect that every Israeli citizen now, sort of bemoaning this heavy blow that the Labour Party is taking, And I don't know, I really hope that there is indeed chance for a rejuvenation of energies, rejuvenation of the party. But for that to happen, there requires a lot of soul searching and rethinking our positions, our ideologies, or to upgrade our messages to the public. But it should not be the case that we should be acquiescent with the disappearance of the Labour Party. It is a big loss to Israel at large, I do believe.
Now, Jeremy, I'd like to bring you in specifically about the new right, because the threshold has not been met for Naftali Bennett and Ayelet Shaked. It has been pointed out by our correspondent that the counting continues. It's not entirely over, but it's not looking very optimistic. How are you feeling? What happened?
Before I address that, I just want to speak on labor. I think that Yossi deserves a lot of credit. He was the first MK who said there was an issue with Avi Gabai, and he's also the first MK, providing you a headline today saying that he should go home. And I expect that this is not the first Labor MK that's going to be calling for that. And I really think that Avi Gabai should go ahead and look at himself in the mirror, because this is a party that had 18 seats after the split from Zionist Union, and they're down to 6 seats. And that is just a historic loss. If you add that with merits, the entire ideological left is down to just 10 seats in the Israeli Knesset. And even as someone on the right, I find that to be an issue. Now, in terms of what happened with Haymin HaChadash, as you just mentioned, there's 3% of the vote that still needs to be counted. Afterwards, there's also the double envelopes. In the 2013 election and the 2015 election, Bennett was able to get up an extra seat when it came to those votes coming in. I expect the same thing will happen. Right now, in terms of threshold, we're looking at a division of about 0.1%, which is around 3,000 votes. So it's not such a big deal to be able to get over at this point.
Gentlemen, I'm going to stop you right now, because we're going to go at the moment to Tel Aviv. We're joined by our correspondent there, Ariel Levin-Waldman. Ariel, a dramatic and long night for voters. Tell us what's happening in Tel Aviv this morning.
Well, that really comes down to who you talk to. Tel Aviv does have a strong ideological lean to the left, and that was reflected by the voting trends. It's usually a 60-40 split between the left and the right in Tel Aviv, and that's how the vote broke last night. And that's how the opinions are breaking this morning. We have had a few people that I've spoken to say they approve of how things went down, with the right-wing coalition looking to hold about 65 seats in the future government. But most of the people I spoke to, again at a 3-to-2 ratio or so, seem to believe that the world is ending. They see that the left-wing parties have gotten a very small minority. Our analyst just said the true left only holding about 10 seats grand total right now. And even with all of the votes and possible allies that blue and white could muster, they are still a sizable minority in this parliament. So everybody on the ground is talking about exactly that topic. They feel here in Tel Aviv that they're not represented, but the country as a whole believes that Tel Aviv is not representative of them. Remember, the demographics in Israel are something in the area of a 75-25 split between the right and the left, and we did have drastically higher turnout than we were expecting in last night's election. The grand total number was around 67% or so, which brings it to the higher point of turnout. When you have a high turnout like that, the grand total of the election is going to be reflective of the nation as a whole. And that's really the opinions we're seeing on the ground. The next question is going to be what happens next in the government. I mentioned that the coalition is likely to sit at around 65 seats, but 4 of those seats are the Kulanu party. Why is that important? Because 16 of the seats are coming from the religious parties, United Torah Judaism, as well as Shas. They historically do not get along well with the Kulanu party due to issues such as the draft and other economic points. Now, what this means is that you could have a rather unstable coalition. Remember that going down to 61 seats is what sparked the coalition crisis in the first place that started to lead into our early elections. So how long can the current government hold on? That really depends how long Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu can keep a very unstable coalition together.
Correspondent Ariel Levin-Waldman reporting live from Tel Aviv. Quickly back to studio, your thoughts on what we just heard.
I didn't hear it, so.
Oh, unfortunately. Well, we're talking about how the left were doing, and obviously it hasn't been a great turnout. But as you've mentioned, counting continues. So tell us about New Right. What are you expecting to happen in the coming hours?
Well, like I said, we still have 3% of the vote right now, but also we have the double envelopes. Ram Balad are the party that are closest to the threshold right now in terms of being on top, looking below. I don't expect them to be able to pick up votes there. Merz is also in danger of falling under a threshold. We'll see what happens in the coming hours.
Jeremy Sultan, Professor Yossi Yonah, we will be watching what happens in the coming hours. Thank you so much. And that's it for now from the news desk. I'm Benita Levine. Stay tuned for so much more. This is I24 News Elections 2019.